Welcome back to the YMAO Podcast. This is episode 9. What's up? Hope you guys are having a great day. I have been having a very introspective day. It was pretty interesting. I feel like my brain has been scrambled a little bit with trying to figure out a lot of things, but yeah, we're just going to go into how my day went just to start and take it from there. So, today I went to work. I was worried about going back into the office with just how much more flexible my schedule was last week, and I was worried about a lot of things, about it raining, if I would have the energy when I came back home to film the podcast. And surprise, I kind of do, but the energy is a little bit lacking a little bit, so forgive me if I'm not speaking the best or if I just seem a little bit lethargic. My day kicked off to a crazy start. About a year ago, I wrote a letter to myself, and I used one of those services online, like one of those websites that lets you schedule the email to be sent out whenever you want to get it back, and I sent it to be sent back to my inbox in a year. And today that the year passed and I got the email, why I scheduled it at 6:33 in the morning is beyond me, but past me must have been some type of genius, because I don't even know if I was waking up at 6:30 a.m. during that time for work. I don't know when I started doing that, but I don't know. I guess like maybe I knew myself better than I know myself now. That's what it feels like. And man, this letter was insane. My life. It's so crazy how much your life can change in a year, how much your perspective can change in a year, and that is exactly how I felt about reading this future letter. And it came in such a way where I was just struggling with a lot of different things currently. Like I did struggle. I just figured it out today, but I was struggling with my purpose and what I needed to do and how to appreciate people and how to do all these things and leave it to past me. I don't know what my motivation was, but I pretty much kicked myself in the ass, and I pretty much told myself to appreciate the things that I should be appreciating. And there was a lot of things that I haven't been appreciating as much as I could recently. And I already knew that, but I felt like I just needed a kick in the butt, or honestly, like a kick in the ankle to make me fall, in order to really understand the gravity of how much I was really forgetting a lot of different things that were important to me. So I'm going to go into it a little bit. Um, yeah, a year a year ago, I felt like I was in a pretty low place in my life. I I just didn't do a lot of things right for the people around me. I was making questionable decisions, and I I honestly I feel like I could have done a little bit better. But there was just something about that letter that just made me feel like the past is the past, and the best thing that I can do is move forward. And my letter pretty much, like, long story short, my letter said, "Hey, you messed up a bunch, but don't forget who you are. Don't forget don't like, if you're going to remember, like, because I feel like I told myself this because I kind of understood back then, even then, how memory works. And oftentimes will either make the past super nostalgic, or will remember the really, really traumatic bad times. And at least for me, I feel like I have always been a person to remember all the bad things, because I would always reminisce about how I could have made it better. And I would hate myself for not living up to the standard that I put for myself. So my letter pretty much said, hey, like, you mess up, but if you're going to remember all the bad times, and all the bad things you did, then please, please, please remember all the good things that you do and all the good things that you can be. And it was just really, really good. It was really good for me because I tend to forget the second part. I tend to forget that there's this whole other side of me that that outweighs the bad things that I do if I just continue to if I continue to be myself and I continue to do all the good things that I can do, right? Because I do feel like I'm a very positive person and I'm very optimistic, and I feel like the only way that I do give negative experiences is if I'm a Debbie Downer. So, yeah, that was pretty much what the letter said. And one of the things that really caught my eye, which I wasn't expecting it to catch my eye, was I said, "We are special, I am special, and you are even more special." And I thought that was just such a cool line because I past me was kind of like sharing this moment with me of me reading this, and was saying that back then I was important and unique, which honestly I don't give myself enough credit for. And it almost felt like a year before, or like a year ago, I trusted that I was going to be in a better place, and that I was going to grow and I was going to develop and change for the better, and I would eventually be even more unique and special. And it ended up happening. I don't want to say I spoke it into existence because it wasn't just speaking, it was a lot of work to get here. And it still is a lot of work. I have a long way to go. I have a list of things that I want to improve, but I'm happy for the recollection of the year. And I love doing these things. I love just looking back in any way how I was from a year. It doesn't hit for me to read journal entries from a year ago because it just seems the journal entries seem a little bit more specific and they're not really tailored to tell me anything. But yeah, that was a really, really good that was a really good letter. It was just so, it almost made me cry at 6:30 in the morning because I was just so happy with the person that I ended up becoming, and just like accepting a lot of things about myself, about how I didn't really know where I was going to be, and I didn't think I was going to be perfect in a year, and I still don't think that I'm perfect, but I feel like I made some type of improvement and I was able to change a lot of things about myself, and I continue to still do that. And yeah, so the letter ended up having that statement that I talked about, and also talked about how apparently a year ago I really felt like I was meant to be a leader, and I was super inspired and emotionally charged to be this leader for people. And I don't know why it spoke out to me. Maybe it was the delusion of waking up at 6:30 in the morning. Maybe my brain wasn't turned on, but it just all kind of hit me just kind of being on the train. I remember I felt like I was close to finding this new purpose that I've been hunting for the past 2-3 months, and nothing has been really sticking. And I've had multiple like aha moments, but like epiphany moments, but I've never really felt like any of them really hit home. And for some reason, it all just, I just kind of felt like it was coming together. I took out my digital journal and I just started writing, and I started to piece things together. I started to put the patterns together. I remember I was writing, okay, I feel like it has to do with people because all of the different variations of my purpose have been people oriented. And, I started talking about my past and my traumas, and I was like, okay, well, something about me has always leaned towards being this type of, like, being more helpful and supportive because of how I grew up. And, I pulled in all these different things that that are me. And I just, I was just kind of thinking about so many different things. And it was such a push to shift myself to a different perspective of life. and coming from a place where, or going into a place where I'm not really behind anymore, which is where I came from for a very long time, kind of being the underdog, not being smart enough, not being capable enough, not being able to support and provide and care. And now I can do all these things. And it took me a really long time to understand what that all meant and what it means to have this type of ability, this type of power, and how to use it so that I could make myself better and make the people around me better. So it all kind of came together, and long story short, my new purpose is to become a leader in all aspects of my life. And the reason why I ended up choosing that is because I remember writing down that I wanted my purpose to be something that I know is possible, but something that I'm not yet, and something that I really want. And so I thought to myself, like, what do I really want? And I drilled it into my head, and for an hour and a half while traveling to work, I just thought, like, what do I want in life? What do I really want? And I knew I wanted people in my life, and I just didn't know how to tie together. Like, I knew it had to do with how to have people in my life, and I still didn't know what to do. And then it just all clicked together, just like, it just resonated with who I was and how I could make it possible. Like, if I knew nothing at all, like, I think I wrote, if I knew nothing at all, or I don't know anything at all, but I do know that I want my friends and family near me. And then I thought, okay, like, how do I do that? Like, as I am now, and how I could be in the future, how I could see myself growing, how can I have that future where my friends and family are with me? And honestly, I'm not cutting it right now because there's lots of things that I could be doing better, but that's why I want to work on it, and that's why I wanted to become a leader. There's a lot of different ways that you can frame a leader or have that title. You can call yourself the man of the house, you can call yourself the breadwinner, you can call yourself a brother, you can call yourself a friend. You know, you can be a leader in a lot of different ways, and it doesn't mean that you're always in front of people and leading them. Sometimes being a leader just means understanding that you need to sit back and emotionally support and listen and understand people. There's so many different ways that you can be a leader. There's so many ways that you can show people that you understand them and that you are doing things in a way that they understand, which is very, very hard and complicated and requires a lot of tact and resilience, because lots of times if you don't understand people or if you get defensive, then lots of times emotions will run rampant, and then you can't be a good leader, which I've had in the past. I mean, not that my emotions run rampant, but, you know, kind of like I've been upset or I've been stubborn and I don't listen to people if I'm really frustrated, and obviously not a good quality of a leader. So I want to try to do this. I want to try to become that. And I feel like it's a really great purpose, because the bad part about my last purpose, reaching financial stability, is that it was possible and it's tangible, but at some point that survival instinct kind of goes away. You know, you make enough and you have enough resources where you don't feel that pressure of financial struggling anymore, and that purpose kind of feels a little bit lacking, and it doesn't feel as much pressure as much as money can pressure people. It also goes the opposite way, where when you start to be a little bit more comfortable, that feeling of restriction and tightness and scarcity kind of go away just as fast. Just like how, you know, spending money and gaining money can happen in a flash sometimes. Maybe losing money happens a lot faster than gaining money, to be honest, but I'm sure that business owners would love to disagree. But anyways, I feel like excuse me. I feel like I I can work on this for the rest of my life, and I'm okay if I never reach this idea of a perfect leader. I don't think that exists. I think there's really great leaders, there's really great visionaries, but there isn't a perfect one, and I'm just trying to be a good one. And there's a lot of different reasons why I would want to do it. There's a lot of underlying reasons, you know, that goes behind leading, that you can lead to a lot of philanthropic ideas, like a lot of ideas that have to do with helping the community, right? But for me, I think, and which I think is the core to any purpose or anything that you really want to do, at the core of it, I think the most important reason behind why I want to do it is because I want to. Just let that sink in. Because it is so easy to say that you want to do something, but it is not very often where you can say that you want to do something for the rest of your life. And I feel like that is what will help you find your purpose. And maybe it's because that's what helped me find my purpose, or my new purpose, I should say. But it really feels like I can work on this for the rest of my life. And I'm okay working on this for the rest of my life. I'm okay with wherever it leads. But I know that following this direction is going to give me the most amount of control over my life, the most amount of opportunities, the most amount of happiness that I could find, the most amount of abilities and levels of perspective that will let me grow to be the person that I want to be in a lot of different ways. So I guess my question that I want to kind of leave on this topic for you, so that you can think about maybe your purpose now, and maybe if it's really a purpose that, like a lifelong purpose, or if it's just a short-term purpose, which is fine. But if it's a short-term purpose, it's important to understand that that is what your purpose is, so that when you eventually reach that goal, because that's honestly what short-term purposes are. Short-term purposes are just, goals with a deadline. Then you don't feel like you're purposeless or that you don't have direction. You just kind of understand that this was supposed to end, and that should be enough to just kind of cope or transition into a new stage in your life when the time comes. And it will come. I feel like that it usually happens in people's early 20s or mid 20s. That's kind of like the first time that it happens, when you're first out of the school system and you're just kind of trying to figure out who you really are without the structure of school and academics and grades and deadlines and, high pressures to perform really, really well. So yeah, my question is, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? If you had a purpose, or if you had something that you just something that you wanted to do for yourself to grow, what would you want to do for the rest of your life? Would you want to bake? Would you want to give food to people? Would you want to help people learn? Would you want to grow a community? There's so many different things that might resonate with you, but I don't know. I feel like it's insane because I've read so many different books about personal growth. I've watched a lot of content online, and oftentimes people will say that passion and purpose are two different things, and passion comes and goes, and purpose can purpose can be fleeting, I guess, you know, like people like I guess what I'm trying to say is people will usually say that purposes sometimes don't feel like it resonates with you all the time. Oftentimes, like, people will tack on stoicism, which is like kind of like push through the negative emotions and keep on going forward kind of thing. And so the idea behind that is, hey, if you have a purpose, even if you're feeling bad about it, even if you don't feel like you want this purpose, like, you should push past those negative feelings because the negative feelings won't last. And this is really your purpose in life because you set it out to be your purpose. I get it. And I am a person that can totally do that because I've been doing it in the past. But I am here coming from that perspective to say that there is just things, it may be hard to see or hard to find, but if you give yourself the time to think about it, you will eventually find that there's just something that speaks out to doing certain things because you just have this innate craving to want to do it. And you don't just want to do it once or twice, you just want to do it for like, you want to do it rain or shine, whether you drop it in a week and pick it up in a year. You just want it to be something in your life. You want it to be something where you write it on a post-it note, you put it on your refrigerator, and you leave it on your refrigerator for the next 5-10 years. And it's almost like you know, like a task list when you're supposed to get something from a supermarket or you know, grocery store, and you just keep forgetting to get it. You know, like, for example, like if you were supposed to get socks and you just keep forgetting to get socks, like you get everything but socks and you just keep forgetting, but you always try to work towards getting socks. And sometimes even when you get socks, then, you know, in a year or two, sometimes you may just think, oh, like, I have to replace my socks, or I need to get more socks, or I need to get better socks, or I need to get socks that are good for the winter, or socks that are good only for the summer, or socks that hide inside my shoe, like no show socks or whatever, so that you have better style. Like, the point is that it should feel like that. It should feel like a purpose is just comfortable in your life. It feels like it's fitting. It feels like you don't have to force yourself to do it because you're just naturally going to do it over time because you just constantly think about it, you know? And I think you'll get there. I think that you shouldn't sell yourself short if you feel like you don't really know anything that I'm saying and it doesn't make sense, and you're like, this guy's literally just yapping and it doesn't make any sense. It just sounds like he's a Looney Tune character. If you guys know what Looney Tune is, it'll make sense. Like, if you don't know what I'm saying, literally just bookmark it or like put it in the watch later playlist, and then come back in a year or schedule a calendar invite with like a link and watch it in a year. It will make sense. Like come back to this video when you just kind of feel lost, and it'll make sense, and it'll at least push you in the direction to start, like, I think it'll start giving you the perspective to at least start thinking about all the things that might be important to you or not important to you, and you'll start throwing things out and start putting things in your life that are more important or things that you've been craving to do. So yeah, that is chapter closed on finding a purpose for me. And it's been a very long journey, in my opinion. And it was worth it. It was worth every second that I put into it. It was worth every conversation and every argument that I've had with every person that I've been talking to. And so I definitely recommend finding your purpose. It helps the days feel less boring and tedious. It helps you just understand why you're doing things. You know, whenever you ever feel like, oh, like I'm really tired, it always gives you that little push to be like, you know what, like this is the reason why I'm doing this. This is like what I want to do so that I could be the person that I want to be in the future. Those type of things. Or maybe you're listening to me and you're just like, oh, like screw what this guy's saying, screw the future. But in my opinion, there's usually two ways of life. You can either suffer now and enjoy later, or you can enjoy now and suffer later. And I am very much of the notion to suffer now and enjoy later, because it just feels easier for me that way. And at least that way I can enjoy the moments going forward, rather than reminiscing about the enjoyment that I had in the past, right? It's debatable which one's better. But for me, I feel like people will say, oh, like, you will never be 17 again, will never be 18 again, will never be 19 again. And it'll just keep going, will never be 20, 21, 22, 23. It's like, for me, I get it. We are never going to be the same age that we're going to be. But that doesn't change every single year. You can give up a year of doing things and enjoying things because you will have the same logic the next year. That is my opinion. If people say, "Oh, you'll never be 21 again." Yes. And you'll never be 22 again. So just pick it back up next year. Or pick it up in a few years whenever you feel like you can drop the guards, you can drop the responsibilities, you can drop all the stressful things properly without breaking it. Just think of your responsibilities like plates or glass, and if you just let it go and drop it on the floor, it'll break, and it'll be harder to pick up all the pieces than to pick up than it would be to just like put the plates down slowly and then pick it up. Pick up your responsibilities whenever you're able to do it again, or to even have enough money to buy new plates, right? So that is my sentiment with that philosophy. Okay, so yeah, that has been my talk about purpose, future letters. After my letter and traveling, I went to work, and work was work. It was better. Usually, like, sometimes I feel like, again, like, sometimes I do feel like I'm a little bit confused or overwhelmed because I'm doing so many things at work. But today felt really good. It felt like I was productive. It felt like I did a lot. And honestly, like, I had a few conversations when I was on my lunch break to talk about like content and things like that, and it made me super excited towards like all the stuff that I was doing. Finding my purpose also made me 10 times more excited to be doing all these new ventures that I'm doing, and it made work more understanding. So pretty much my work was fine. Work was good, and I had a good time working. I've always loved my job, so it was a good time from like 8:30 to 5 p.m. And then it was raining. I just kind of don't like the rain when I'm not like, when I have like my wallet and keys and stuff, because then it just feels like I'm going to get my wallet wet and my cards are going to get rusty and things like that. But it was raining, and I feel like rain makes my energy drained. And so I came back and I worked out, and at that point I just felt like so exhausted with just the entire day, and I still managed to push this through, which gives me a lot of hope, because it makes me feel like I can do this. Like, it makes me feel like I can post every day, and I can at least put out a video every day. I don't know about a constant schedule, because I think I'm way too all over the place, but I feel like I can make it work. And my knee is better. my knee has my knee is recovered for the most part. I'm giving myself another week because it just I just don't want to break it again, and I want to make sure that I recover fully. And yeah, it just oh, and that reminds me, I have to buy movie tickets. I am going to watch Deadpool versus Wolverine. So I'm super excited for that. Should be a good time. And yeah, I feel like I feel like I I feel so excited for the next couple of months. I feel like I'm really going to do a lot of great things. One of my friends helped me figure out my camera settings, and I realized that that's why my videos have been super crappy because I wasn't on the right settings. But trust me, I will come back. The next videos after, not the next one because that one was also bad quality, but the one after that, I will make sure that the quality is better. Um, I was just thinking if I had anything else, I do. Last thing I want to just touch on, if I didn't already say it, I recommend I recommend writing a letter to yourself. I'm going to do it today. If you see this video or if you made it to this part in the podcast, then um, I would love to experience this moment with you guys and to just write letters all together. And August 6th, on August 6th, all together, we will all get our letters back, and we can kind of just share the moment of kind of reminiscing about where we were and kind of just gain a little bit more awareness of how much can really change in a year, how much we are allowed to change, and honestly how much we underestimate ourselves and how much we could do in a year. I think that's the biggest thing that I want you guys to come out of, because I every single year I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like I set these very egregious, like very greedy goals, and I feel like I'm never going to hit any of them. And it always blows my mind. It always just blows my mind um how much things change in a year. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to write a new letter. We're going to see how it goes. Hopefully it goes well. But I urge you guys to do the same thing. Think about your purpose. Don't hurt your knee like I did. And if you haven't yet subscribed so that you could watch more podcast episodes and see cool videos that I'm trying to make. Other than that, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Bye.